from the red carpet special or moderating panels at 3 previous Broadwaycons. And welcome to the stage the cast of the Cher Show.
Broadwaycon. Awesome. I am thrilled to be here. Like they said, I've been moderating panels since the first Broadwaycon, and at the Hilton, so it feels like a welcome home. I want to introduce you to everyone who is on our home stage today. Why don't we start with you, my dear?
I'm Stephanie J. Block. Hi, I'm TEAL WICKS. I play Lady. Hi, I'm MICAELA Diamond. I play Babe.
I'm HYDZIK. I play Gregg. Allman. Hey guys, I'm CAMPAYNO and I play Camilletti.
Hi, I'm BERRESSE. I play Bob. Mackie, Robert Altman, and the evil friend.
I'm JARROD, SPECTOR. Wow, that was a lot. I play Sonny Bono.
But I feel like I'm in cosplay for Anna from Frozen. What do you think? A little bit, right?
And I feel like I'm in cosplay for Stephanie J. Block. we have our jokes. But I saw this show just before you opened, December 3rd at the Neil Simon Theater, and what a crazy opening night you guys had. It was awesome, but I was the happiest I've been in a theater in a really long time. Are you guys what is it like to be able to bring something that's just flash and heart and joy and, you know, a big rock concert to the stage?
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy to put out on that stage and a lot of energy coming back from the audience because it's just, it is like a rock concert and our audiences really get into it and they are very responsive and it's just a lot of energy going back and forth and we have about 1,000 quick changes running around.
Like I said, the dressers are the heroes of your show.
Yes, they deserve a huge applause because our show would end after 5 minutes if it wasn't for them. And it's a lot of energy and a lot of hard work, and it is exhausting, but it is really freaking fun too.
But I think Cher set the tone for that, right? So she's been around for 6 decades, and that's what people have come to expect. If you're going to see the Cher show, you're not looking for a flavor or a genre that's going to be somber or a boutique musical, or, you know what I mean? You need the sparkles, you need the flash, so we're trying to check off all those boxes that people who have fallen in love with Cher through the decades can sit there and we hit the expectations, hopefully, and then we add the meat on the bones, which is the humanity and the sort of beautiful underbelly of her life, well beyond what she also presents on stage. So there is this beautiful balance. All of it comes with a lot of song and dance and shine, because that's who Cher is. Like, with Cher, more is more, right? And that's what works. You can't just kind of, let's break this down and have a real, you know, dissected musical production. Ain't gonna work. So we feel awesome knowing that we're giving people what they're looking for, and hopefully that little extra that perhaps they didn't expect when they walked in the door.
Well, I think you are certainly giving that extra, as, you know, you're the first Cher we see when you walk on stage. There are a lot of expectations, and building her from almost, I feel like, the outside in. I have to ask, because I heard that you found your Cher voice speaking from the outside in thanks to Crest White Strips.
That is correct.
Tell me, what does your face do with Crest White Strips that makes it sound like Cher?
Well, let me first say that we have been a part of this company for almost a year. We have gone out of town. We had an awesome dialect coach. Her name is Kate Wilson. She comes from Juilliard. We worked hard. We spoke through, like, you know, paper towel tubes. We tried to do everything to bring the voice of Cher forward. And it really wasn't until I was bleaching my teeth and I was reading the lines, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I think I found Cher. But it really happened that strangely. Yeah. And it was my husband who first, it perked his ear because he heard me go through, you know, the Scottish accent in Transylvania. It was a nightmare. And he finally then just said, Stephanie, I think you have it. I was like, what? What do I have? He's like, you sound like Cher. I do? Oh my God, I sound like Cher. I've got it. Oh my God. And then it was pulling them off and finding it without. But it's
right.
placement.
Like, are you holding your muscles in a specific way on your face?
It's finding the placement almost on your upper gum and everything, and it's almost like sobbing. So if you're yawning or crying, let's all do it together. If you're yawning or crying, there's kind of a hollow placement that happens back here in the chamber, but all the sound happens.
A lot of soft palate lifting, yeah?
Yeah! You know, she's, there's things that have progressed and transformed in her life, whether she got her teeth fixed or, you know, and that sound has changed a little bit, but once we got it, we got it.
I was gonna say, you're not the only one doing it, and you guys maybe didn't have the help of press white strips.
Well,
How did you guys...
once she found it, it kind of spread to the rest of us.
Okay.
I think hearing somebody else besides Cher do it kind of helped us like lift it off the page a little bit. And I used to be like, when we were in Chicago, I'd be like, everyone would be like, do the voice, do the voice, do the voice. And I was like, no, I can only do it when it's on the page, like in the script. I have to be in the zone. And then all of a
You
sudden,
can't just like order at Starbucks in your Cher voice.
right, and then we got to New York and I was like, well, I can do it whenever I want, and we found it off the page and it's fine. Like, oh my God, you know? You can do it without, without the lines on the script.
Now it sneaks in. Like my daughter Vivi will say, no mama, be mama, no Cher, be mama. Because it just kind of sneaks in.
What about for you, TEAL? And just, I mean, and also the three of you forming a character voice, not just the sound of Cher, but what it's like to hear one person through three people.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's three people playing one character, and we play her at different times in her life, but the nature of the way the show is structured, it's not necessarily linear, and so we have scenes with each other, we're talking to each other at various times and singing together, and so although we also wanted everybody to believe that we were Cher and be like, okay, we'll go on this ride with you, we also wanted it to be believable that we could all be one person. And so, in addition to finding the Cher voice, it was also finding things within each other. Physicality, maybe just sort of like the attack of certain emotions or words or whatever. It's kind of trying to find a balance of the three of us. Like, I as Lady, I played the middle Cher. And there are times where I need to pull on MICAELA's babe sort of isms, because it's like, here's a little softer, more tender, more hopeful, joyous moment, and then times where I need to pull on Stephanie's star, because this is something where I need to, like, as Cher says, pull up my big girl pants and, you know, step up and be a little bit tougher and wiser. And yeah, it was a lot of time spent in random rooms with each other in rehearsals, just talking to each other, throwing balls, doing weird
I was gonna say,
things.
MICAELA, you told me on opening night, which shout out if any of you watch Playbill's Red Carpet Opening Night Lives and keep me company before these guys get there. But you were telling me that it was about finishing each other's sentences as MICAELA and TEAL and Stephanie, even before it was finishing each other's sentences as Cher and working with Kate.
Well, we were lucky because we've been a part of this for a long time, and so our director kind of gave us the patience and like love to find who, like, this story adds MICAELA first. And I think since we were so grounded in who we were able to tell an honest story first and then add the Cher aspect, which is a huge aspect, but I think we wanted it to be, the goal has always been to tell her story, not do an impression, because there are 1,000 people who could do it better than us. So we wanted to do both. And I think since we had the time to do that, we started as us, which was important.
You three are not the only people on stage playing someone true to life. Everyone in the back row as well play, you know, real life characters, which in some cases come down to the voice as well. Matthew, you know, with Gregg Allman, and Jared, you with Sonny. How did you find those voices, and again, making sure it's not an imitation, but something that you're bringing to the role and to the stage.
Take it away, Jared.
Sonny's tricky because he starts out like a caricature. I mean, you know, sort of the Sonny Bono that we know from, especially from Comedy Hour, and even earlier than that, even in their pop songs. You know, it's so nasal and high and specific, and you know, I think that that's sort of the danger in doing an imitation of someone specifically like him. So. I certainly did listen to the songs ad nauseum and sang along until I couldn't hear the difference between my voice and his voice in times. And then I felt like if I could hit that in a couple of moments, then it would give me leeway to be not quite exactly like him the rest of the show.
And I feel like you must be almost an expert at not doing the imitation, having done Frankie Valli and having done Barry over at Beautiful, and now doing Sonny. You're the expert on bringing someone to the stage, but not, you know, we're not resurrecting anyone here.
Yeah, no, I think what they're saying, what the three ladies have said is exactly right. Starting from, our job as actors doesn't change even when you're playing a real life person. You're still starting with the words on the page and doing justice to the author's work. And then, because you're playing a real life person, a lot of your choices are sort of pre-made for you. And so then, okay, so I can't play Frankie with a limp, but I can, you know, I have to do all the things I could when I was injured, but you have to sort of do, you have to bring to life the real person that everyone has expectations of seeing. And I think a big part of that is hitting a few important pillars like Cher's voice, Sonny's voice. For me, like the way that Sonny carries himself with his sort of groin forward and the way his sort of like, loosey-goosey arms. It is
These
very
are real
specific.
things. The physicalities are real.
And if you hit a couple of those, then you can just do your job as an actor and say, what is my action in the scene? What does my character want? And go and get it.
Matthew, with Gregg, I know you were saying you grew up listening to his music and that sound was just in your ear.
Gregg's singing voice was really easy for me to start with because, like you said, I grew up playing Allman Brothers. I knew Live at Fillmore East and Brothers and Sisters and Eat a Peach I verbatim knew every word. So the sound came really easily. It was the speaking that was harder because once he was a soft-spoken man, he had a very long suburb of Nashville accent, which is specific. And then it sort of changed over the years when we moved to Macon, Georgia. So it was really difficult for me to get the speech down because it's hard to stay immediate and be right on top of the line and acting on line when you have a slower dialect. So that was the hardest thing for me, to kind of find the urgency in what he's got to say. But it's hard to sound urgent when there's a guy that's notorious for never really speaking much. And so they said,
I feel like that's when also the physicality comes in too. I just feel like he was like a palm blowing in the wind the whole time I was watching. Right?
I think I liken him to like a blonde Sasquatch. and it's funny because one of the consistent compliment that I've gotten from people that knew him is and from Cher too. When she first saw it with Bob Mackie, we were in Chicago, and Bob's like, Cher lost her shit. I was like, what? He said, she was in the back trying not to make a scene, but when you walked on, she lost it because she's like, he's walking like him. And the other reason I know that he had this limp is a couple things. He was very lanky, he was tall, and he had this limp because he shot himself in the foot to get out of knob. So seriously, he had this, here's the Gregory one. So basically, and it works.
I love that we're having show and tell.
Works with heels, yeah. So basically, this is his arms. So first it's the arms, so the hips are first, and the arms are like this. Now, if you add a limp in the left foot, it makes you drop a little bit. So then this is kind of the slowed down Gregory walk here. And then that informs everything, so when you add the hair starts going, and then you got Gregory.
Sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Sharing is caring.
These are the jokes, people.
It never gets old.
Of course, I mean, we've talked about, and there's so much out there about all of the research that you all have done, whether it's watching YouTube clips to see these physicalities, old concerts, listening to the records over and over, the Sonny and Cher show, Cher's solo show, all of those things. CAMPAYNO, because we have two, your character is a little bit lesser known.
Yeah, it's funny for somebody who was so stalked by the paparazzi, you can't find a thing on the guy. I searched very hard to find a lot of research on Rob Camilletti, who is a pilot in LA. I just gave that away. He probably doesn't want you to know that. He's a pilot in LA, and he flies private planes now, but he's still alive. He was a younger lover of Cher when she was 40. He was about 23. And he was this young guy from Queens, very grounded, salt of the earth, kind of like that. And I tried to find so much on this guy, but I found one YouTube clip of him speaking for like 5 seconds. And it was around the time, it was in the 80s too, so it was around the time when there was a lot of paparazzi. MTV did a whole thing on him, and it actually helped me out so much, and I was actually so grateful because I thought a lot of my job was going to be imitating, and I thought a lot of people would remember him, but I think what people remember is the essence of him, and the essence of what he allowed Cher to be and become. And a lot of people remember the men in Cher's life, and I think a lot of people remember him as like a cute little sexy boy, and there's that. But
Typecast.
So you think
it's truly. That is the end of our talk back. We'll see you guys later. No, I think it really allowed me to be a lot freer and just focus with Stephanie. And for me, it was challenging because it was one of the moments of the play that was truly stripped away, and it's just me and Stephanie speaking.
Yeah, it becomes really grounded, like
Right.
your relationship comes to the
Right, really
forefront.
vulnerable in it, but still stylized, which is so well done by Jason, our director. But it allowed me to really just focus on our relationship and what I can give to Cher and how she can grow from me as a person, as opposed to the imitation of Rob or playing this young, youthful guy.
Yeah.
So it actually was something that freed me as an actor.
Aside from the things that you were able to research, or in your case, weren't necessarily able to research, I mean, Michaela, you said it earlier, there are 1,000 people, theoretically, I don't know that that's true, but you said there's 1,000 people that could be doing this. What is, during an impersonation, right, so what is the thing that you found out about Cher, whether it was from the page, from Rick Ellis' script, or from being around her, or just from you, that you thought, this is something I want the audience to see in her, and then, to all of you in your characters?
Yeah, she gave us a lot of nuggets of advice along the way. She meaning Cher, and also Rick's script.
As you do, you just hang out
It's
with
like
Cher.
weirdly casual now. It's not casual. It's not at all. Yeah, I think something I always took was, she always said, one, she was painfully shy when she was younger and still is today. And two, she always knew that she wanted to be famous but had no idea how to get there. And that's just something I kind of keep in my pocket and remind myself before I walk on stage every night because, well, one, I can kind of relate to that. I've always known I've wanted to do this, and like, you just have no idea how you're going to do it, and then you get to certain rooms in your life and you're like, you just have to rise to the occasion. And that was kind of her journey. She happened to be in Phil Spector's studio and then happened to sing her face off, So there's certain markers in her life that are laid out kind of beautifully in our story. And we've been through so many versions of this script now that so many things have been cut. I mean, I remember that my audition sides, we had this great scene on Catalina Island, and it was the scene with Sonny, and it's not in the show anymore, but there was a whole lot of character development or relationship development between us, and I keep those. They may not be seen to the rest of the world, but I played them so many times. So I always love to look back at those old versions because they're still honest to what we're doing. We just have to tell a story in 2.5 hours. But yeah.
And we'll definitely talk about more of the things that have been cut in that development process, but if anyone else wants to speak to the thing you want to bring out to the forefront in your character that comes from you.
It's, oh God, I don't know. It's the thing that I loved about, when I auditioned for this show, I didn't really know I was like, I don't know what I'm getting into. It's the Cher show, I don't know. I could be anything. And then when I first got the audition sides and the scenes that our writer Rick Ellis had written were so grounded in most of my scenes are with Sonny, and they are so true to what real, couples go through. It's discussions about work and family and time, and it was all so real and grounded that it was such a great gift, because I was like, oh my God, you get to play Cher, who is this larger-than-life creature, and then we also get to show these super real, honest scenes about what she's like at home, and I really try to hold on to all of that stuff, because she is flesh and blood. She has been through so many ups and downs, and I'm like, what is she like behind closed doors when she's at home, kicks off her shoes, is like walking around barefoot, just sitting? What does she want? What does she want to do? And I just try to remember how grounded all of that felt and kind of keep it going through. Because also being with her, she has this there's an ease that she goes through everything. Not an ease because she works her butt off, but like she just has such ease in herself and in her body and in her physical life.
It's comfort.
It's really fascinating.
I'm gonna piggyback on her being rooted, and I think if you go to a Cher concert even today or look at her footage, we all remember it as it being a spectacle and high performance. But if you look at Cher, she's the eye of the storm. Everything's happening around her, and she's wearing things that may weigh 30 pounds, dripping with sequins, but she's walking like your neighbor down that stage. She's walking with confidence, but ease and comfortability, and it's very natural to her. And then Bob Mackie said to us, you gotta realize she walks the same way in jeans that she would in a couture gown, and that's what makes her so accessible. So you look up to her because there she is looking like a goddess, but yet she is grounded, and I say this in air quotes, but as normal as any woman could be. And that sort of, but being both sides of the coin at the same time is really unique and very rare, and she is that. She's both sides of the coin.
Michael, you play Bob Mackie, who has been Cher's costume designer, fashion designer, I should say, for years, and designed the costumes for this production. He's someone who, we see in the photos with Cher. He's alongside her, whether it's at the Oscars or what have you, but we don't hear a lot from him. We don't know a lot about the personality behind that. So what was it that you wanted to bring to him as a character on the stage, and him working with you in the fitting room, absorbing pieces of him?
First of all, can we just give it up for Bob Mackie for a
Yes, we
second?
can.
Yeah, Bobby!
I heard there are over 400 costumes in the show. Over 600 corrected from
There are 400 costume changes.
400 costume changes, 600 costumes. Unbelievable.
And I will say, Bob will be 80 in March. He is working as hard today as he was in 1975, doing as many clothes as he was every week for both Carol Burnett and for Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. He's the nicest man in the world. But how many of you ever have seen